let's have a sip of water and we'll kick off. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, welcome wherever you are. You're joining me here today in Harrogate. And we've been to Harrogate on a number of occasions, but most of you have been looking around at the area of the Valley Gardens. So today I thought I'd bring you to see some other parts of the town, not least because it's a fantastic time to come, because Harrogate not only is it a superb destination, a must-visit destination while you're here in Yorkshire, it is also the pride of the county for its wonderful floral displays. It is being crowned, I think, multiple times in kind of best in bloom competitions, and I believe they are now national finalists, which is fabulous. So we wish them well and hope they can land the title for God's own country. So as you're here outside the station today, and coming by station has lots of benefits. Coming from York, do and visit by train, so you come across the fantastic viaduct, of course, at Nares. We get that wonderful sight that we've seen and looked over so many times. What's great is you come out of the station and immediately we're straight into these glorious, glorious blossoms. Isn't it the colour? So Harrogate's going to really set its stall out, I would say, not just in recent years, but historically, as a place where this beautiful town, the wonderful stone, is really kind of set off by this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful floral displays. We're looking across there at the Victoria Arcade, very nice shopping arcade. We'll look at the gardens on that side. But isn't it beautiful? These vibrant colours, the geraniums there, the reds are kind of really singing at me. And what are these little red and white ones called? Verbenas or Sweet Williams, we think. But again, just these colours. Bit of rain's coming, unfortunately. And marigolds and petunias. Aren't they just lovely? So let's cross over. Hopefully this rain will sort of slacken off. We can do our best to keep dry. So Verbenas, yep. Thank you, Beverly. Yeah, straight up, please. Yeah. Thank you very much. And so I'll do my best to keep the brolly out of the thing. But aren't they glorious? The colours just really kind of sing out. And so a town that's already beautiful as it is just takes on a kind of whole new dimension, I think, with these floral displays. So I'll just take you to have a look at the Victoria Centre. Now, when this opened, I think shortly after it opened, some public art was commissioned, and it resulted in these statues up here, which, if I go on a bit of zoom for you, you might be able to see, sort of took some kind of local notoriety at the time, because these people, and I suspect they're there to kind of represent the townspeople, the varieties, families, different ages, but it was rather sort of rudely suggested. They looked like they were people sort of thinking about ending it all. But I think they've weathered beautifully now, and they kind of really feel kind of part of the place. And so outside the Victorian Quarter, we have this lovely public space, public gardens. Go off that zoom, and I'll have a look at some lovely flowers. But as everything in Harrogate is elegant, it's beautifully laid out. There's a sense of space here that I think you don't get in so many towns and cities, where there tends to be a sense of like cramming in as much commerce as possible. Harrogate really seems to be developed with people in mind, which I guess goes back to its kind of time of spas, people spending a lot of time strolling around, taking the air, constitutional walks, sitting down. So consequently, there's lots and lots of public space where you can just sit, take time out, relax, enjoy the scenery, and of course, take in the wonderful floral displays. But aren't they just delightful? So there's a real plethora of these red geraniums. They seem to be everywhere we look. But again, beautifully set off with this. And again, do jump in, those knowledgeable horticulturalists, being a flora and fauna, and tell me what we're looking at. But compositioning-wise, it just works so well, doesn't it? And as we've mentioned on these tours before, of course, characteristically in Harrogate, because of its association with health, well-being, rest, recuperation, we have the serpents on the benches, linked to the caduceus. They have the twin serpents and the staff that represent the medical profession all the year round, all around the world, rather. So again, it's a lovely little space. You just want to come and spend time here, don't you? Read a book, time go by, have a coffee. It really is a town that's kind of built with people in mind. I think that kind of really sort of comes through. Lovely palm here in the centre. It is, yeah. It's just saying that there's a major road running by, but you wouldn't know from the volume here. It really is a kind of place of rest, a kind of relaxation. Dusty Miller, is that what it's called? That's interesting, Polly. Dusty Miller. They do look like they've kind of got flowery dust on the leaves, don't they? It's unusual, isn't it? If it really soft to the touch. Fantastic. Like those a lot. What a notice those. Yeah, well, as I say, the serpents. It's just part of the characteristics that they're in Knaresborough as well, because obviously Knaresborough and Harrogate, well, historically were in the same district. They're now part of a bigger North Yorkshire council, but historically it was one council that was Harrogate and Knaresborough. So consequently, that's what defines them, the serpent benches. So we've got Queen Victoria's Jubilee Memorial here, so 1887. So by that stage, she was quite an old lady, really, I suppose you'd sort of say. It's a wonderful statue, very graceful. And of course, at that time, the 1880s, Harrogate would have been absolutely at its height as a spa, a place of rest, relaxation, recovery for the wealthy. Many of the crowned heads of Europe, famously the Tsarevich, Alex, the son of the Tsar of Russia, came here in a vain attempt to treat his haemophilia. So this really was a place that was all about privilege and wealth. So Queen Victoria felt very at home here, but of course she was something very close. So again, we've now got pink geraniums, and again, it's that carpeting feeling. You know, I think it's that the repetition just really works, doesn't it? It gives us a kind of sense of space and kind of openness and just colour. And I don't think we can overestimate just how positive and kind of life-affirming it is to be able to just spend time taking in the flowers. So well done, Harrogate. A sterling job. So I haven't got a route in mind for this. We're just have a little wander around the town centre, walk down towards the gardens, and we will see what we see en route. Feels like appropriate, doesn't it, for a Sunday afternoon to just take a stroll. Lovely. Climbing rose, would that be? Looks like a rose. Beautiful. Such lovely colours. Hello, Joe from South Australia. Hi, B. It must be I don't know what time of the day it is with you, but you're most welcome here in Harrogate. Another view of Queen Victoria before we ever kind of wander off. Grey plants are Cinnaria, I think. Okay, thank you, Beverly. That's most useful. So if you do know what we're looking at, do jump in, and it drives the conversation along. It covers my gaps in knowledge, which are pretty extensive, it has to be said. But we can't know anything, can we? And that's the whole point of being a community, is we can help one another to broaden our knowledge and to share the fun. So as ever, we're taking a sort of shortcut really now on the way down towards our kind of next destination, but the buildings in Harrogate just exude excellence, elegance rather than excellence. Everything is done with kind of very fine detail in mind. There is a sort of restrained elegance about Harrogate that really kind of separates it, I think, from many other towns. It is deluxe, if you like. There are very few sort of dog-eared corners around here. Everything is presented beautifully, and the flowers, I think, just give it that extra kind of level, but they kind of really fit. So, you know, here not only have we got lovely presentation in the lampposts, really nice design, but the flora, it just sets it off, doesn't it? Didn't know Alexia was there? Yeah, absolutely, Elizabeth. Yeah, so Alexia, of course, characterised by his haemophilia, which I think was a problem that ran through quite a lot of the European royal families, and of course they were all related, weren't they? So a relatively small kind of gene pool. And so it was believed that Harrogate's waters with very low salt content may help to treat that, but I mean, they made all manner of promises what these waters could do. But some lovely hanging baskets down here, so you just take that down for me. Thank you. Again, just cheers you up, doesn't it, when you can just look at just lovely flowers wherever you go. Beautiful, just blowing in the breeze. Again, geraniums?
That's Bacopa. That's Petunia.
Petunia.
They're begonias. And geraniums at the top that you can't really see.
Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. That's some lobelia at the back. Oh, lovely. Very delicate. Isn't that just lovely? So yes, it wasn't at all unusual to have people, you know, of the rank, if you like, do you know what I mean, of the Tsarina, obviously the Countess, his mother came with him. This was a place that was, widely visited and patronised by the super wealthy, and the crowned heads of Europe were here on a regular basis. As I say, with this fervent belief that taking the waters, drinking the water, bathing in the water, taking various sort of tonic treatments was a fantastic aid to good healthy life. So consequently, they came in their droves, and so this is why, sort of very early on, Harrogate has been associated with kind of luxury. So many of the shops are kind of the upper end, if you like, catering for people that have got sort of sophisticated tastes, as you might say, in terms of what they consume. There's a lot of quality on offer in Harrogate, which makes it a great place to come for retail, as well as to see the sights, take in the gardens and so forth. It really is a great package because it's not so big, easy to get round, pretty accessible. So, and of course Betty's is here as well, so there's lots and lots to come and see and do in Harrogate. But one or two of these look like a bit of deadheading. I think the main festival in bloom was a couple of weeks ago, so perhaps some of these were at that kind of peak a couple of weeks back. But I know where we're kind of heading down towards the roundabout down here by the Crown down there. I was here last week. It still looks fabulous. So, or it did last week anyway, so I'm sure it'll be none the kind of worse. So, but what a lovely town it is to come and visit. So we're going to walk down towards the gardens, but try and hopefully pick up lots of other points of interest along the way. So of course the Stray is the open ground that surrounds the city. We're going to look at the memorial stone first, and that kind of really characterises, when we think of Harrogate, this sense of openness of green space, which is why, of course, there is so much space for the planting. But the Stray itself isn't necessarily a place where there's lots and lots of blooms, but it gives the sense of a place of nature. This kind of like green protective barrier around the town gives a sense of openness. So whilst the buildings here are very, very sizable, there's never a sense of feeling crowded in. There's always a sense of kind of space, openness, and so we get these wonderful gardens such as this again, very, very near to the town centre, but it feels like you are, if it weren't for the traffic, you would never feel like you're in a town centre. But aren't they beautiful, or begonias, I'm not quite sure, and lovely succulents as well. Real kind of mix there, obviously the flora and the succulents, I think, working really, really well. Kind of real nice, a lot of thought has clearly gone into the presentation of sugar lumps. Sorry about that, I just pulled the cable out. That's what happens when you're not wireless. Damn it. Sorry about that. Beautiful. That's really unusual. I've not seen the succulents sort of use it in this kind of way before, so I think that is a really unusual. Yeah, they probably wouldn't overwinter there, would they? But again, beautiful kind of contrast. Reminds you of Livingston Anns. Okay, that's interesting, Elizabeth. Up near Blackpool way. Be over there in a couple of months to go and see the lights. Going to that time of year again. But isn't this a glorious expanse of colour? Just makes your heart glad, doesn't it? So pretty. It's a really good idea, the succulent idea, isn't it? So I'm just going to show you again. I think you'd probably, as I say, you'd probably have to bring them indoors. I don't think they could exist outside for winter, but not in Yorkshire anyway. But there is certainly, it works really well, doesn't it? If you've got the space and the time to overwinter them somewhere where they will flourish, I think it makes for a really interesting juxtaposition. I'm really kind of interested in that, and it surprised me. It's not something that I've seen or expected. So obviously, number of centimetres. We're going to walk, take our time. So how nice it looks. Sit and have bite to eat, coffee, drink, surrounded by this. Sedum, I think. Okay, Leslie, thank you. It's absolutely lovely. Is Cosmos? Or Rebecca, yeah, okay. Lovely contrast of colours. Lovely climbing petunias up the back. And these are lily type, is it?
It could be a banana plant.
Or a banana plant. Oh, interesting, yes, banana plant. As you can see, I've got Mrs. John off centre, as you might say, feeding me clues, because her knowledge of all things flowery is a lot better than mine. So aren't they just delightful? All around. Let's have a walk on deck. I don't want to film people, but quietly enjoying. Having pots bring indoors in winter, Susan? Yeah, I think that's a very good way of kind of doing it. So again, looks like a banana plant or some such broadleaf plant in the middle there. Possibly canna lily. Oh.
Yeah, it's looks a bit big for canna lily.
Might have been a previous plant though. It's not always. So again, let's walk on. But isn't that lovely? Just look at that scene. Lovely, elegant houses, open park. Such a lovely. You know, I know it's kind of public finances are tight, you know, and so I'm sure there's a temptation to cut back in these areas. But it'd be such a shame if they did, unless they could find other ways of doing it, because where the business can support it, because it really just brings a vibrancy and a calmness, I think, to the town centre. That it sort of, how can I put this? It makes you want to take your time. And I'm sure, obviously, I'm not doing this, so I'm going to take my time. But it makes you want to just slow down, I think, and just kind of breathe it in and look. You know, kind of just go in deep. And she has indeed got a very green hand, green fingers.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. It's something that I found the older I get, the more time I like just spending looking at flowers. It's that ephemeral beauty, isn't it? We know they're not going to be here for long. You know, youthful beauty must die. All of us, we grow older. But flowers don't. They have this glorious burst, but it doesn't last. So I think that to me is sort of part of that beauty. It's the youth. Hello, MB. Very nice place to live. Oh, absolutely very nice place. Look at the houses as well. You know, these are very, very high residence. But Harrogate is full of beautiful places to live. I mean, you know, if you find a way of making it work financially, this is, I think I'm right in saying this is kind of won, you know, best place to live in Britain awards on a number of occasions, because I think it's the combination, obviously location. You've got York, you've got Leeds, but of course the Stray, the quality of the houses, very good schools and so forth. So it's no great sort of surprise. Of course that comes at a cost, doesn't everything? But it's certainly a fabulous place to visit, even if you're not going to live here. Good health, absolutely. And you know, as I say, historically, I mean, I wouldn't drink that spa water. Don't think many people would. I think it's actually banned as kind of being injurious to public health these days. But you know, luckily we have other things we can turn to rather than sulphur water to keep well. But putting that to one side, of course, the tea here. Betty's fabulous Yorkshire water, so there's other ways of enjoying the water, isn't there, these days? So isn't this just lovely? Sun's coming out now, the rain has stopped, and we're just surrounded by colour everywhere we look. Super happy to be here, MB, that's lovely.
I think they must be canna lilies.
So yes, whoever suggested, was it Leslie suggested canna lilies? Looks like you were right on the money there, because obviously we can see one flowering now, so the others are, again, as I say, I think this sort of peaked a couple of weeks ago, so obviously they'll have staged a lot of this to be ready. So some of these geraniums, a bit of deadheading required, will probably continue flowering for several months if they do that. But it's Mrs. John's going to apply for a job as a gardener here. But isn't it just delightful? And you know, when I was younger, a lot of places were like this, had lots and lots. You know, every town, you know, would have, you know, a lot of parks and planting. But unfortunately, it's one of these things that, you know, with kind of local government sort of cutbacks and, you know, affordability and ageing population, all these kind of pressure points on local authority finances, it seems to be one of these areas that has become a bit of a soft target. You know, libraries, unfortunately, you know, all these sort of things that I think are really, really important for kind of well-being, emotional well-being, you know, and give people just positivity and happiness, tend to be the things that are frightfully easy to cut when pressure comes on. And that's not a criticism of the authorities. Of course, they must make tough decisions all the time. But it is a shame if there isn't something to step in, whether it be business sponsorship, volunteer groups. So, you know, hats off and applaud Harrogate for continuing to do this year in, year out, because I think it really gives you a reason to come. So when you're coming, you're spending money and so forth. And of course, for the residents, how nice to be able to have all this on your doorstep. So let's have a wander down towards the Crown down there. We'll do the Montpellier Gardens and see what's down there, and we'll head up towards the the course, the wonderful, and the world. Look at that! Look at that great shot that is. That's absolutely lovely. Hi, Leslie.
But they reversed it with yellow red, or red then yellow.
Ah, that's a good point.
All the way
Yeah,
along.
yeah. Mrs. Johnson mentioned here. Look, we've got the red outer, yellow inner, and we go down here, and it's in block reverse. So now we've got not as well defined, but nonetheless, you know, we've got a red centre and a yellow outer. So isn't that interesting? I didn't even notice that.
Oh, well.
It's funny when you got obviously somebody with you, and I don't know to what degree how much you can hear. You're not meant to. It's been too chatty. Yeah, the backseat driver. But let's go look by the cenotaph, because I think there's some flowers down there. But you know, the sheer scope and the scale is. Leslie, yeah, remember lots of parks like this? Absolutely. Let's go to Rack and Ruin. Well, it's a shame, isn't it? Because it just shows, you know, what it brings to quality of life when you persist. And if you can find a way, as I say, whether that's business or volunteers or however it might kind of work, but even individuals could sponsor it, who knows how it would work. But it's definitely, if there's a way of keeping it, goodness me, you know, you can see the value, can't you, in providing it, because it just makes you feel happy. So the cenotaph I've spoken about, wonderful Portland Stone Memorial, very, very high quality war memorial. I've talked about that quite a lot in the past, so I'm not going to figure on it today. What we'll have a look at is the floral tribute around it. So again, so another view of this succulents and the red blooms. Lovely, the sun's coming out now. Trying to get run over. That always makes a tour a better experience. Okay, I think we're good to cross. So again, we've got a riot of colour again over here, with whites, reds. Isn't that lovely? It's like a carpet, isn't it?
He's not a rugby lad.
Again, lots and lots of geraniums, but it's a lovely contrast in the red and the white. The red and white roses of Yorkshire, isn't it? Thank you, Elizabeth. That is lovely, most generous. I do appreciate that. So isn't it just? Oh, look at that! Yeah, somebody needs to be made accountable. There's a rogue pink geranium there in the midst. Somebody's heads need to roll over that one. Someone's not paying due care and attention in the geranium sorting factory, or whatever they do. And again on this other side, again we've got to kind of repeat. But they haven't obviously followed. They should have repeated, shouldn't they? They should have red on the outer and white on the inner, shouldn't we? So again, they've missed a trick here, haven't they? You know.
What do they know?
What do they know? It's amateur hour, isn't it, Harry? No, again, it absolutely lovely. And of course, look at that. We're looking straight across now onto the world famous Betty's, famous cafe, restaurant, wonderful place. We're focusing today on the flora and the fauna. Rogue pink geranium, I know, sneaking in there, probably feeling very proud of itself. An interloper. Very disciplined to the gardens, which should go in and take it out. Maybe they're secretly delighted. They've had a pink one in their midst. Let's have a walk down towards the gardens. But again, look at these now. So the focus on this side really is kind of grasses, really, isn't it? Is that what you call them? Grasses, sort of broad-leaved plants. Anyway, I don't know the names of these, but it gives a little bit of texture, doesn't it? It's sort of shape. So suddenly, and of course, with these broadleaf plants and grass, you get movement, which I really like. I think that's something, again, if you're sitting and looking and watching, the fact that you become like also coral-like, don't they, underwater. Yeah, they're like, not dissimilar to cordyline, quite a sort of waxy feel on the leaf, but quite a big one over here. I don't want to film these people sitting, enjoying time on their bench, but again, lovely colours in the bloom. This first time I've seen these plants. Dianthus. Aren't they beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. So in Prospect Square, you see a little plaque there. But aren't they beautiful? Again, a carpet. You want to lie down. There's something about these, you know, like in Wizard of Oz, where she can't help but lie down. with the poisoned plants and falls asleep. I can imagine just lying down in here. Thank you, Elizabeth. So yeah, here we are. Look. So European competition for towns and villages in bloom, 2004. They were a gold medal winner. Look at that, European bloom. So, and they've just continued going from strength to strength. So I think it's great because if you set your stall out and say this is what we do, people know about it, they'll come and visit and support it, won't they? And I'm sure that business want to get behind it and get involved. And what it says here, look, the plants on display are grown by our horticultural experts and are available to buy at our nursery. So hopefully that does well and people will go in and financially support it. Unfortunately, yes, yeah. So the plants are for sale, but unfortunately the plants have grown too darn big. So somebody needs to think about that and get that sign on stilts. But look at these combinations here. Isn't that absolutely... Thanks, Beverly. Can't quite read that because my glasses... This light, I can't really see the chat too well today, but... just really makes you feel joyous. And again, lovely hanging basket. These blue skies coming through now, so... Let's have a walk down and see what's over on this side. So, as I say, we're passing famous Betty's Cafe, one in York, of course, but this is the original Betty's. So, well, the original Betty's actually was across the road over on that side, but this is again the most famous of the Betty's here in Harrogate. Lovely hanging baskets, of course, characterising everything is elegantly and beautifully presented at Betty's. So, it's perhaps no great surprise that they would have hanging baskets that do that justice. But let's go over into Montpellier and a lovely canopy and have a look what's down here. So again, almost every street seems to have a little patch of green space where there's flowers in absolute abundance. The cosmos down here, the white ones, aren't they? So what a great place to be a buzzy bee there, having a whale of a time. So much choice amongst the flowers. Look at that. Let's get the try and get the bit of a memorial in there. Get your nice kind of postcardy. Oh, that lamp post. So we cut that lamp post down. It's completely the wrong place. If they don't understand photography, let's do that. Let's get the lamp post out. There we are. There we go. How's that for a framed shot for you? Isn't that absolutely beautiful? New Zealand flax. Okay. If we get a chance, we're going to have a look at the New Zealand garden or in the Valley Gardens, because I've not been in there for quite a while, so I don't actually know what sort of flowering is in the New Zealand garden. Didn't go there last week, so we'll have a look. But in the meantime, there's live music playing behind me because you're hearing any sort of stray drums and rock guitars. There is a live music going on very nearby. So again, it's a lovely public space. People enjoying the sunshine, the outdoors, the planting. It's very much a town built with people in mind and whiling away the afternoon. Load of geraniums. Okay. Bit of Guns N' Roses going on in the background. Not especially good, as we said, but nonetheless. The sky is lovely today, isn't it? Yeah. A lovely blue sky going on there. A lovely old waterfall kind of fountain with kind of sculptured shape to this one. So it's all variety. I mean, what's great is what we're not sort of seeing. Dianthus, thank you, Katie. What we're not seeing is this massive repetition. There's a kind of real originality about this. There are grouped in themes, but it's not just the same plants over and over. A lot of red geraniums, admittedly, but being combined with all manner of kind of different sort of companions in these kind of planted, again, very broad banana leaf. I think just absolutely stunning combinations, exploding with colour and in absolute pristine, tip-top condition. So it really is. Red geraniums, okay, in Michigan, interesting. So the Grandatel are Mackinac Island in Michigan, and they specialize in red geraniums, so they'll be very similar to these then. So isn't that absolutely delightful? And so much of it just given over to this kind of floral, so this relatively small kind of public space here. We've got about 7 or 8 beautiful kind of planted beds. So there really is so much to look at. And this, I must admit, I looked at last week, and it didn't announce to me straight away what it was. In fact, my daughter was in, she thought it was the @ symbol, you know, for emails. But we worked it out when we came around this side, that it's not that. What it is it is the floral crest of King Charles III. So if you look, there's a C that goes around through it all, an R, and then obviously 1, 2, 3, King Charles III. But we didn't, until we came around this side, we couldn't work out what it was. It was a funny kind of shaped internet thing. Thought, Harry going modern. But this side really kind of makes it a bit more obvious, because of course what we've got is a crown. So it kind of makes sense now when you look at it from this side. It's a fantastic bit of planting, but I'd say when you see it from the wrong side, it's not at all clear exactly what it is. But and of course this is done with colourful leaves, which is interesting. It's not floral. It's all done in wonderful foliage, so that's fantastic. So let's have a kind of wander down. It's another. Oh, those purple ones are pretty. Let's take the sheet. So again, just completely different splash of colour now, but beautiful purple flowers over here. And again, lots of bees and flying pollinators. Isn't that gorgeous? It's absolutely teeming with flying insects. So it's a wonderful facility for them. I don't know how you're kind of picking them up, but I mean, you can probably sort of see at least a dozen pollinators on here. It's absolutely alive with pollinators. But they always seem to be drawn, don't they, towards things like pinks and purples. Seems to be the colours they particularly like. I don't know if it's the colour they can see particularly well, but it's absolutely teeming with little pollinators. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but there's literally dozens of them on here. Isn't it? What plant is this?
It's a hardy geranium.
Hardy geranium. Right, okay. So this is absolutely lovely colour. Beautiful, beautiful colour.
It's in the garden.
Pelargonium. Interesting. Interesting.
Could be a pelargonium.
Okay, so let's go and wander down towards the garden, see what else we can see en route. And I do like the way that there's integration between the lampposts and the hanging baskets, because I mean the lampposts are elegant enough as it is, which gives this new kind of dimension. See Victorian lamps. It just gives a second. Oh yeah, I can look at that. Just really kind of sets off these Victorian cast iron lamps. So again, a new combination we've not come across so far. More geraniums, the same white and then red. But these blue plants coming in now, introducing. So I'd say what's interesting is there's a lot of repeating flowers, but the combinations are changing from bed to bed, and I kind of find that kind of really interesting. So it's not like you just switch off, because each one you look at, there's a different kind of combination, a different focus, and different kind of colour palette. That red, white, and blue, of course, yeah. So whether this is again related to the coronation, or perhaps was planted last year, the Queen's 70th, who knows? But again, it's a riot of colour, absolutely lovely, and it does sort of resemble a bit of a crown, doesn't it, on top? So I think that there probably is definitely some kind of royal motif going on with this. It's absolutely wonderful, and I don't know if how that's been supported in the middle. I can't actually see what's going to support that, but there's probably some kind of infrastructure to create this sort of shape. But it's been done so well that it just works together, just absolutely beautifully. And I'll just bring you over here to have a look. So the Tour de France, the cycle race, came through here in 2014. So you can see a wonderful carving done to the Grand Depart, of course, was here in the UK. Passed through Harrogate, and so a wonderful afterlife for this tree, which obviously needed to be sort of taken down. It's now the home to this wonderful piece of sculpture. Love that. Absolutely beautiful. And this, the white rose, of course, with the Montpellier Quarter of Harrogate. Blue might be salvia. Thank you, Beverly. That's a most interesting. The blue might be salvia. Let's go and look at them again, and they could be salvia. We think maybe. There's not as many of them. They're not quite as.
Yeah, it looks like sage.
The numbers of them, yeah, aren't as anything like as many as the others. But yeah, good call. Thank you, Beverly. Bit sagey, the leaves, yeah. So could well be. Very good spot. So I think there should be some stuff on the roundabout here, and then we'll have a walk down into the gardens and see what's on. How are we doing for time? We're about halfway through, so that's lovely. So I hope we are all well. just try to pick on the chat now. It's actually blue might be sorry. Yeah. So sorry about this. With the bright light on the screen, you can't always read the chat. So I'm not ignoring it. It's just in case when I get into the shade, I can then see what's going to be said. So if it takes me a while to respond to you, you'll understand what's kind of going on. So I'm not going to film too much around here because people are enjoying their Sunday afternoon. Let's get past here. I'll show you another vibrant, colourful bed. It's absolutely delightful. It's a really, really kind of vibrant, almost like a fuchsia kind of pink, isn't it? I know they're not fuchsias, but it's that sort of really, really hot pink sense. And actually, are they a little fuchsia? They're Goras, okay. Absolutely delightful. And some sort of really delicate, of course, and others kind of really big, vibrant. So these, I think, absolutely love them. Yes, they've got the kind of stamens a bit like fuchsia, haven't they? But obviously, very, very gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So what time to come to Harrogate? In the sunshine, Sunday afternoon, and loads of decorative bikes to shop windows for the Tour de France. Yeah, well, of course, the great thing about Tour de France was, of course, is that it went through lots and lots of destinations in the county, so everyone got to enjoy a little bit of it, and you were never too far away. We saw a bit of it in York, and the whole thing, we waited for ages. They flashed by in about 30 seconds, the whole thing. Amazing, you know, they like all the vehicles and then the bikes, they get such a bumming rate of knots. But we get to say we saw it, but not for long. And the torch relay for the Olympics, that came nearby, we saw that as well. So we're blessed here in Yorkshire with things that we've had to feel part of in recent years, and hopefully things to look forward to in the future as well. So coming to the roundabout by the Crown, the Montpellier roundabout, I think this is called. And again, why have a roundabout when you can have a floral roundabout? The wonderful Crown Hotel in the background. But let's Dusty Miller, great board plant. So again, I think bananas, if I'm not too far wrong on this.
Yeah,
but lovely begonias, is it?
Begonias.
Yellow begonias and fringed by lovely petunias. I'm getting there. I'll be doing flower tours for you. Hang on, no, I am. I'm not sure if I could do flower tours, but nonetheless, with a word in my ear and your wonderful help, we can just about get by. We can pass muster, as they would say. But this yellow, really cheerful, isn't it? It really kind of makes your heart glad. And some wonderful yellow, I know around the corner by the baths we're going to have a look at in a minute, because we were here last week as well, so it's quite a theme of yellow going on. And because this is the Crown Hotel, we've got a crown, you can see here, some metallic shit, lights up on an evening, by the looks of things. It's got lovely little lights on it. And again, one of these plants, these tall ones, a bit different. Not seen those before. But again, nice use of like hostelite type leaves, broad leaves being used. So not everything is blooms here. We've got grasses, we've got foliage, there's kind of shrubs and so forth. So I think it's a very creative mix. It's not just a case of flowers that are all going to disappear in a few weeks and go. I think it sort of creates year-round interest. And easy. Digger's the expert, huh? So again, lots of movement. There's not much breeze today, just enough, but it's absolutely delightful movement that we're getting from this. It really kind of brings the sort of 3D quality to what you're looking at. And of course, wherever you look, such pretty buildings in the background as well. So it is so creative. It is absolutely delightful. Whoever is a designer ought to feel very proud, and it's great they're getting this recognition. Say national finalists. Not surprised in the least. When you're doing this sort of quality consistently year in, year out, you are going to get known for that. And I suspect then you can attract great gardeners who want to come and work here. And of course, a lot of this I'm sure will be done in partnership with Harlow Car. So Harlow Car is an award-winning garden. It's about 2 or 3 miles outside Harrogate. Wonderful place. Famous TV gardener Geoffrey Smith, he was the resident gardener there for many years. Wonderful acers. So if you like your Japanese plantings, wonderful provision over there. Harlow Car is a fantastic place to visit. So I suspect that there is quite a bit of joint working between Harrogate and Harlow Car on the presentation of some of this. But But again, new colours, new planting. And that with a backdrop, lovely Crown Hotel. How wonderful when you're arriving and leaving to be greeted by this wonderful floral display. The Cosmos, we think, this purple. Aren't they lovely? Little yellow, like a little yellow Smartie in the middle. The little sun still smiling at us. Absolutely lovely. And again, these wonderful, what do we say these were? Canna lilies, yeah. So lovely. And just set against that stone, it works so well, doesn't it? Let's just drop down and we'll get you. And look at that. The yellow Yorkshire stone. The beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flowers. Isn't that gorgeous? It is absolutely. The Beverley Street to Harlow car, it's fantastic. It's known nationwide, as one of the finest gardens run by the Royal Horticultural Society, or operates alongside them. I'm not sure if it's run by them, but it's a definite must-see if you are in this part of the world. Harrogate, Harlow car, Nesby, you can do all that in a day, and what a day that would be. Just a day of constant delight and discovery. Very peaceful, relaxing, and of course, afternoon tea at Betty's. Come by train, so you can see it all. Don't have to drive, relax. What a lovely day that would be. The colours plants is golden purple. Okay. So again, little hints of yellow begonias just down at the bottom. But just how lovely. These are one of my flowers of the day. I've decided I really, really like these. They're speak to me. So let's go down to another lot of bedding plants down here. So I think I'm hearing dahlias being mentioned, of which there are many in the garden. We're going to have a look at the dahlias in just a few minutes. But before we do, look at these four colours. Yes, Harlow Car is an RSS garden, thank you. And again, there's just so, you probably can't see, but there's so much activity by the pollinators around here. So what a place to be a bee. If those are coming back as a second life or third or however many lives it takes to become as a bee, put Harrogate down as your place of residence. If you get a choice, I would definitely recommend it. Look at these lovely dahlias here. They're absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And just a lovely bunch of colours. To what degree that's planned, I'm not quite sure. They seem sort of quite mixed. So I don't know if they've got a mixed bag. But to compare to some of the other beds, there's sort of more of a mishmash of colours here, isn't there? Than there is any one sort of main sort of colour theme. But it works spectacularly well. Michaelmas daisies. Thank you, Leslie. But aren't they just a big bumblebee there? I don't know if you can see that one, but it's a beast. Absolutely lovely. So cheerful. Dead. So again, these are very similar now to what we saw outside the station. This combination, the geraniums, petunias, was it? I love these as well. They're so dainty. Verbenas, absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And we've got these, literally all over. Sorry. So wherever you look, you're just greeted by flowers. It is so, I can't tell you how positive it makes you feel on a sunny Sunday afternoon to be able to just spend time looking at flowers. It just lifts us. It lifts us as people. And as I say, I know it's a luxury item, but as luxury items go, I think it's one of the best. So if you're desert island discs thing, if you choose luxury gardens, I think I'd have flowers. If you'd have flowers that lasted, for all time, that'd be quite a good thing, wouldn't it, have as a luxury item? But edible flowers, well, that'd be good, wouldn't it? If you could eat them. Yeah, no, you can, yeah. Right, so I'm not talking to myself, by the way. My wife's chirping away in the background. So, if you're wondering where the conversation's coming from, I've not got to the stage of talking to myself as yet. I talk to you, people look at me as if I'm talking to myself, but to be honest, these days with mobile phones, people notice a lot less, don't you, speaking in the street, because everyone's got little earbuds and stuff in now, so it's not the thing that it once was. But so we'll have a look down here, and then we'll have a walk back up towards the Valley Gardens and finish off, take you to see the big Dahlia display in the gardens, but sort of bring us over by the Royal Baths, because the photograph that I used to advertise this tour, I was here a week ago, last Sunday, and I took it, so I'll show you where we took that, because it just looked lovely. A kind of carpet of yellow, looking at the fabulous and the famous raw baths of Harrogate, the former sort of spa baths. It's the cabinet used to meet in there, such was the preponderance of the kind of high-powered people that would come up here. That cabinet meetings were held at the royal baths. Wonderful. All getting soaked up and lathered while they were discussing the affairs of the nation. Just try and cross over without getting run over. And I'll tell you what's nice over here. I'll take you to see Cupid and Psyche. It's another little, just a delight of Harrogate. You can walk past and not even notice that it's there. But right in the middle of this green space over here, there is a wonderful kind of purpose-built display case for a fabulous Victorian statue. Cupid and Psyche. Look at that. How elegant is that? Isn't that beautiful? And again, you could walk past that every day and not even notice that it's there. So the statue was completed in 1861. It was bought by Harrogate in 1862. Just kind of part of the pleasure trail, I suppose you'd call it really, of Harrogate. This sort of idea of having delights on every kind of street corner. So wherever you look, there is something of beauty, something to engage with, something to sort of spend time enjoying, as it is today. So that photograph that I took, if you've seen it, I took it over here. So let's head over there. And so again, just green space. I can't kind of emphasise how much green space there is in Harrogate. You kind of room to breathe, I think, is the way you describe it. So we've got the fabulous old royal baths over here. Now a Chinese restaurant, which kind of sounds a bit strange given its past, but what a fabulous setting. If you're into Chinese food, you're not going to get a more sumptuous environment to enjoy your food. We've got the theatre, the former Cursal, the front of our picture, but this lovely bed of yellow flowers caught my eye last week when we said had a drink over there at the lovely pub, the Harrogate Arms, is it? Harrogate Inn. Sat outside and spotted these and thought, oh, what a fantastic shot that would make. And let's see if we can go some way to kind of recreating that by just dropping low and giving you a sea of yellow so you can look out onto the wonderful royal baths with this foregrounding. And it works so well. I mean, any time you think about photography, if you can drop low, if it's dry enough and you can get back up again afterwards, foregrounding like this is such a great way of just really kind of filling images. Of course, you can just stand there and take a picture and it looks like that. But if you've got the mobility, just to kind of drop round and kind of look for ways of doing things more kind of creatively, I think the results kind of really sort of do speak for themselves. It's worth the time and effort. It's better off taking 2 or 3 photos that you'll look at again than taking 20 that you don't, is my kind of view on these things. But I do enjoy spending time thinking about the composition. Think about the lines. So as I'm stood here, I'm deliberately setting an angle so that the flower bed sort of cuts across the image. It's not kind of by chance that I think you'll find quite a lot of the guides do this. Is we think in visual terms, so that you're doing a presentation that looks as filmic as possible, as you might say, rather than simply stand there and go, here's that, here's that, here's that. You're looking at the continuous movement as you move, that you're trying to create something that is like a one-shot movie, I guess, a film that's shot in one take. But again, a nice angle there, the curve in, the building. So if you drop down there, see, look at that, ugly cars, right? But drop down, and the cars, you can disappear. Still get just about enough in of the building. So you can use foregrounding to actually get bits out of your photography that you don't want in. So, little tip for you there. Right, I think we'll go and have a wander up towards the Valley Gardens now. So we need to cross back over. And again, another wonderful display. I hope you can see why I thought that just taking in the flowers warranted a tour. Normally I have lots more stories to tell in history, but today I thought we're just going to come along and have a look and see what's there and expose my ignorance of the flora and the fauna. But Does it smell good? Doesn't smell of anything apparently. There's no scent to them. So we're just going to cross over, do that safely at the crossing here, and so you can have a look at the royal baths. While we wait, there's an incredibly elegant building. Oh, it's green. That's fantastic. And you can still go in the traditional Turkish baths here, but the main part of it, the big historic part, obviously I say now is a Chinese restaurant. But green again. Happy days. And again, let's just have a look at these colours here. So again, we've got this fabulous Victorian architecture, but fronting it up, look at this. Isn't that absolutely wonderful? So again, Dahlia's the forefront here. And again, loads and loads of pollinators, loads of insect life. So it's so great to see that creating environments, the insects are having such a tough time of it, we're told. I think insects are down about 30 or 40% in the last 10 years with various challenges and changing use of land. So it's great to see right here in the town centre that creating spaces that are absolutely perfect for the flourishing insect community. So I don't know how well you can kind of see that, but it's almost like moving this bush. There's so many pollinators around on it. But isn't it grand? What? We better get on. It's already 10 to 4. And I don't know if you've got other places to be or who else is on, but hopefully you can always drop back in later and have a look at this recording if you miss a part and you need to go. But we're going to go and have a look at the Dahlias in the Valley Gardens, because that is one of the chief kind of attractions of coming to Harrogate, or any time of year really, but this time of year, going into the late summer, the Dahlias are absolutely at their finest. So it's going to take about 5 minutes to, again, by the Tourist Information Office here, interesting use again of foliage rather than flowers, just creating huge amounts of visual interest though.
They do flower.
They do flower apparently at some point, but there's no flowers on display at the moment, but nonetheless it still looked absolutely fab. So here's the Tourist Information Centre, so if you're here in Harrogate and you want some assistance, planning your routes, itineraries, where to go, you see, look, planted and maintained by Harrogate's in Bloom. I'm sure they're on hand to help you out with your itinerary planning and ensure your day can pass and make sure you don't miss anything while you're here. So back up to Montpellier Road, we're going to go around to the famous Valley Gardens now. I'm sure many of you have been in the gardens before on these tours. Of course, very memorably, back last year in the autumn when the news broke at the beginning of the tour that Her Majesty the Queen passed away. So to me, there's part of the Valley Gardens I'll always associate with that day, with that tour, and I know a few of you were with me on that day. So it's a shared memory that we all have. Just going to get a little drink while we walk up towards the gardens, and I'll just have a quick look at the chat and see. The light's a bit better here. So isn't this fun? I'm so pleased to do this because I did think, will there be enough? But once I came last week and checked it out, I thought there's definitely enough here to sustain the tour, because we've spent quite a lot of time in the Valley Gardens. Didn't want to just make it a Valley Gardens. Wanted to give a kind of sense of more of Harrogate, which I think we've done today. So I'm really pleased. But now it's time to go see the Dahlias. I've had some Dahlia tours. Have Stefan done Dahlias this year? And they've been quite popular in years gone by, haven't they, Dahlias? So hopefully you won't be disappointed. There's an awful lot of them, and all types of varieties, shapes and sizes and colours, doubles, singles, pom-poms, cactus. Testing my Dahlia memory there. I think I just about passed muster with that. So the garden's just over here, so we're very, very close. But the Dahlias are sort of up at the back, so we'll get there in time for to these shores. Oh, time to retry. Did I disappear there for a moment? I'm just going back in. The Dahlia llama. Again, beautiful hanging baskets. It's so lovely to see that once you set your stall and then commerce get involved and they make the effort, and I think it then becomes a real kind of virtuous circle, doesn't it? Because if everybody makes an effort, it becomes, the impact just gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it? And everywhere you look, there's something beautiful. And of course, it's fabulous architecture as well, even with the horrible old skipping rod of it. The pump rooms the kind of Egyptian splendour is a joy to behold. So we're just at the entrance here with the gardens, so we've done alright for time actually. So Valley Gardens, of course, is the centrepiece of Harrogate, so connecting Low and High Harrogate, the old two villages. The mineral springs, of course, this was got the pump rooms here to come and dispense glasses of the sulphurous water. We're not going to dwell on that. We'll talk about that sort of history quite a lot on other tours, so I'm not going to worry too much about that today. So we'll have a look at the planting in the gardens and work our way up to see the dahlia beds, which is an absolute feast of colour, which I'm sure you will enjoy. Thought left behind, I think we just got a momentary signal drop, just happens from time to time, but we came back up pretty quick, so I'm not too concerned about it. Let's have a look at this first bed here, and then we'll look at one or two beds on our way to go and see the dahlias. And again, I think it's the planting, it's the confidence, isn't it, and the presentation you get with these professional gardeners, that as much as you can sort of try stuff at home, and my wife does a fantastic job, Mrs. John, but the sort of confidence these people have in doing it, and obviously things they do for long periods of time, to experiment, they just need to be able to get different size and shape and dynamics to it that you can rarely kind of experience in your own kind of garden. So it's always worth coming to the parks to see how the professionals do it, get inspired, have a go. But of course, everything is so well established here, isn't it? And look at these, look at the colour on these. Is this dahlias again? Yeah. Very dark leaves, these ones. It's absolutely stunning. But let's not tarry, even though the temptation is to get every bloom in the garden. But I know there'll be places you need to be. So let us head up onwards. We'll go up towards the dahlia beds. I think should we go the high road or the low road? I think we'll take the low road. So we can go see the begonias and what have you along the way. So again, that dusty mill I think you were talking about, that's a lovely shot there with the pump room in the back. Glorious. So much to look at in Harrogate. It's an absolute feast for the eyes. If you haven't been and you are planning a visit to this part of the world, do take the opportunity. If you're in York, 40 minutes by train. Couldn't be easier by public transport, so no excuse. And regular trains all through the day and into the evening as well, so it's super easy. So Leslie, I know you're coming to this part of the world. Hopefully you'll come over to Harrogate and come have a look, because it is absolutely delightful. And lovely all year round. So there's something to experience all year round, it's not just a summer place. It's lovely Gunnerer coming, it's a really big Gunnerer just down here, which amazes me every time. So for just a kind of brief recap for those that kind of forgotten or didn't know, the Valley Gardens is famous for what's called Boggs Field, which is an area we're going to walk into in the next couple of minutes, where some 30 plus spring water, mineral water come to the surface. The biggest concentration of these anywhere on the planet, which is kind of unusual. It has to be somewhere, but it seems weird that it's here, but it is. And each of these springs, these kind of water sources, it's not rainwater, it's stuff that's been in like ancient caves in the kind of the bowels of the earth for millennia that just happens to come to the surface here. And it has these incredible kind of different mineral contents, chalybeate, iron, sulphur, very low salt. And so that's what led it to be seen as incredible for health. But look at these gunnerer leaves here. They're absolutely vast. I mean, the one that you picture there, I would say that must be somewhere in the region of, getting for 5 foot across. Absolutely enormous. Yeah, there you go. You can see, in comparison to Mrs. John there, the size of it, you're talking absolutely vast. They're absolute beasts, the gunner. But so there's a lovely planting bed just down here, I'll look at, and then we will go and take in the dahlia. So the water kind of runs through. Obviously, these design gardens, they've been landscaped. And actually, there was a competition to design these. And there's all sorts of suggestions came in. In the end, didn't go with any one of them, but the borough planners decided to kind of take all the bits they liked from these kind of competition submissions, and so they kind of create a hybrid. So there's all manner of kind of different plantings, different elements, different little corners, nooks and crannies of these gardens to discover the New Zealand garden, the Japanese garden, the kind of waterways going through, of course, a wonderful sun pavilion, the colonnades, so the kind of covered walkway, but getting kind of all weather. So there's so many different elements to this garden, but what we're just taking you to today is a very well visited bit, which is the annual display of dahlias, which is quite fab, has to be said. Little duck pond over, look at the ducks. It's always time to look at the ducks, isn't there? Floating on the water. The tropical rainforest, yeah, absolutely. Little duck there, doing its thing on a Sunday afternoon. How nice to be a duck in a park in Harrogate. So again, perhaps slightly past their best. Very dark, these almost black, these flowers. But they're perhaps a little past their best. But these begonias over here are still very much in root health. And again, an absolute carpet of vibrant colours. Yellows, oranges, peach and pinks. Really lovely tones running through. There you go. Personal guided tour of Bilborough. Definitely, let's do that. Let us do that. Look at the colour of that foliage, isn't that beautiful? So, red foliage, I don't know what it is, but colours. I'm really into your coloured leaves, but as an alternative to flowers or alongside them. I think it makes for a really kind of interesting composition to sort of put them two together. But onwards we must go, because it's 4 o'clock, so we're already running a little over time, and I do want to get us to see the fabulous dahlias. And so stick around for joy, as they say. So more of this wonderful gunnera, giant rhubarb over here. So again, you get a sense of height now. So if you want to stand in the picture again, give you a sense of how tall these are. So obviously, as you know, Tracy is exceedingly short. No, she's not. But they tower well above. House Crooked End, absolutely. That's the name of my boutique holiday in York. Do check it out. So let us walk on. The dahlias are now within reach. I can smell them. It's like a thistle. A wonderful looking plant. Really exotic. A thistle. And I think if I'm right in saying this part of the garden is looked after by Harlow. I think this is their kind of flower bed. So as you can imagine, it's pretty special. Yeah, the Harlow 60th anniversary bed. So you can see here all different varieties. So I'll do that so you can take a screenshot and have a look at actually what you're looking at there. There's echinacea in there, amongst other things. Right, onwards to dahlias. I can see them. They're within sight. We have Dahlia, what do we say, about minus 60, about 60 seconds, we'll be there. Allotment show today, Sun Pavilion, Valley Gardens. Oh, we ought to have a look at there, didn't we, before we finish? So we're going to look at the dahlias, and then if we've got time, we'll have a look at the... Oh, it's finishing 4 o'clock. Just might look. Everything is finishing. But the dahlias, thankfully, will remain open. Again, just how lovely. I think you got your money's worth on this tour. So this is one of the spring wells. This is well number 29, just sulphur well. They really are dotted all over the place. We're in Bogsfield now. This is where they all come to the surface. Absolutely beautiful, aren't they? Agapanthus are really joyous. Beautiful. Like exploding fireworks, aren't they? Very similar to alliums. One of my favourites is alliums, but of course they're a bit past the season for alliums now. So lovely that agapanthus will hang on and do that. So we're almost upon the dahlias. So yeah, they are. I kind of read a bit about the dahlias, and they are originally kind of native to Mexico. The name Dahl is actually a Swedish botanist, Martin Dahl, who had it named after him, the cultivars. But so they're not native to this country. They have been imported, but they are one of the most kind of widely loved plants. And there's a continuous sense of new discovery. There's about 50,000 varieties now in existence. And a good many of them are on display here, but nothing like 50,000. But there's kind of constant innovation within kind of dahlia growers. They're always looking to develop hybrids. So it never kind of stands still. And what amazes me with dahlias is the sheer variety. it took me quite a long time to kind of get my head round the fact that something like this kind of pom-pom could be said to be the same as one of these wonderful kind of cactus. You know, the leaf shape, everything about them is so different that if you didn't know they were dahlias, you'd never guess that they were the same kind of plant variety. So let's just take a few moments just to take on board how delightful. Like Roald Dahl, yes, absolutely, like Roald Dahl, yeah. Same name, Dahl. Some are edible, yeah, absolutely. And once they get established, they seem to do very, very well here in Yorkshire. Aren't they beautiful? Apparently these are slightly problematic for pollinators. They can't get into the pollen, so whilst they're very beautiful, they're not especially helpful for pollinators. But thankfully, there's so much else on offer here in Harrogate that we needn't worry too much. But aren't they absolutely fab? Some have got names on, so if I see the names, I'll tell you what they are. But catch you on Stephen's Dahlia tour later. Oh, good. Yeah, double dahlias today. Look at the size of these. Aren't they just to die for? So we think that they sort of originated with the Aztecs, and they used dahlias for both food and medicine. That they came from the kind of mountainous regions of Mexico and Guatemala is what I've kind of researched and sort of found out about them. So, of course, in those days, you know, we had all these kind of botanists, didn't we, that would travel the world and try and bring back these plants. And on several occasions, they tried to do this with dahlias, but many times the tubers just died. They just weren't able to kind of cope at all well with these kind of long voyages. But one of them actually managed to survive. And so all the dahlias in England, in Europe, all come back from one tuber that managed to survive this months-long, 9-month-long sea journey back to, which is amazing, isn't it? So to think that all these are going to all related. Slugs and snails like them. It's not completely unfriendly to wildlife. Okay, that's it. that's it. Yeah, they're not. I'm not saying they're bad for wildlife. Just comparative to other flowers, pollinators. Struggle because the obvious centre. I mean, you look at it here. You know, the cactus here. You know, the standard, you know, makeup of a flower. You know, stamen, pollen. You know, where you'd find it, the nectar. It's not at all obvious. And so, what can happen, unfortunately, with insects is that they run out of energy. It's a very kind of high energy. They need that nectar to replenish the energy they've kind of burned. So, if it takes too long to kind of get to, that can be very damaging for them because they've burnt energy and not replenished it. But look at this water lily orange. How delightful is that? Dahlia tubers edible? Yeah, they are. Yeah, but not all of them. Not all of them. Whew. So it's sort of got really warm now in these gardens, but aren't these just delightful? I don't want to sort of tread in too far, but I just want to give you a sense because obviously some of these at the back are very different, but they're not visible really from here. Oh, got a spider on my gimbal now. Aren't they just fab? There's one Cupid and glow at the back there that is absolutely beautiful, but I can't really kind of get to it. But what I'll do, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll just come around this way, and hope you're enjoying up close with the dahlias. If I just come in around here, and then we'll go back on the front again. I want to show you this one because this is one of my absolute favourites, and it's absolutely glorious. The colour and the composition, the sort of leaf. So if you look, we've got sort of a pinkish outer, but then a yellow colour coming in and pink. It's just absolutely beautiful. And that is a Cupid glow for those that like to know about the kind of varieties. But that is absolutely one of my favourites. Hello, Rebecca. So we'll come around this side and we'll take you to see the rest of them before we wrap up for the day and let you get on with whatever it is you're up to for the rest of the day. It's a lovely hotel there, poking up. And again, let's just take time to have a look at the trees, the different leaves and colours, and it's all so beautiful. So, my Beverly. Here, Beverly, you've got your own flower today. So isn't that something?
Rhubarb and custard. These are the best ones for the bees because you can get to the pollen.
Look at that. What do you think, Beverly? Are you pleased with your namesake? Yeah, these ones that the bees can cope with, because you can see there you've got a much more open sort of centre. It's obvious where the pollen, the nectar would kind of reside in that. But let's not criticise the dahlia for being too darn pretty for its own good. Well, it's actually my brolly. It's a guide's brolly. That brolly, and I shall show you why it's a guide's brolly, because as you can see, it's got a hook. And what you can do is you put that on your wrist, so that can go. I'm not going to put it on now, but that can go on your wrist, and then you're not carrying something, it just sits on your wrist. So I've used it on many a tour. Beautiful, look at those. I think it is the cactus, isn't it, that I think really just sort of capture the imagination. There's a vibrance, like explosion, isn't it? Like a firework kind of going off. The colours really are absolute riot of colour. It really is fabulous to kind of behold. And so many different varieties, just a small space that, and it's a nice solid path. So again, it's all very flat, no difficulty with mobility here. So do take the time to come down and see if you're around at this time of year. It really is. Look at cream moonlight. Look at those, so elegant, aren't they? And this enormous pom-pom. Double, is it? Absolutely captivating. I'm kind of running out of words to say now. It feels like at times language can't really do justice. It's sort of poetry for, isn't it? It's to kind of try and do justice to beautiful things of nature. But I feel like at times I'm kind of running out of superlatives, particularly when you look at the size of them as well. I mean, the actual physical size, that must be, this one in the centre here now, that must be, I think, what, 8 inches across? Yeah, so again, the screen isn't necessarily that helpful in kind of conveying the size of some of these blooms. They really are absolutely wonderful. The eye light fire was absolutely, Nancy, I couldn't agree more. That's the sort of sense. Let me give it another shot of that one, because it is absolutely, at that moment, where it explodes across the sky, that's exactly what they bring to mind. It's just, oh yeah, apparently they'll be around till the first frost as long as they're looked after and deadheaded. So, Marston Suzanne, a miniature decorative popular bright red. It's absolutely glorious, love that. And over here, a Terry Bandy, a bright orange. So again, just exploding, absolutely. They don't dry out too much. Interesting. Is that the heated greenhouse, Corian, at home? Is that part of the issue? Let me move. I'll just come around this way and then you can get in there. We sort of swap places. There's lots of singles over here, which I find just beautiful. Sort of doubles as well. But almost a kind of not a relief, but like a lovely contrast, because they're so ornate. The cactus that it almost like comes as kind of a sweet relief to get something that's very, very simple. But I think this actually, is it a double, this one you call this? Collarette style, apparently. I mean, let's say with 50,000 different types, there's about 7 or 8 different sort of groups of like pom-poms over here. We've got cactus, we've got singles, we've got doubles, collarettes. There's almost infinite variety. That, to me, I can't quite get my head around the fact that it's still one flower. Yeah, so we've got like a collar, as you can see there, with the inner, with the sort of stamens where the kind of pollen and nectar will be. But we've got this collar as well. So it really is an incredible plant. I can completely understand why gardeners get obsessed with them and want more and more and bigger and higher. And Mrs. John is very much of that mindset. So more is more when it comes to dahlias. You can't have too many dahlias in your garden. And there's a chap near us that seems to be like, oh, we hate him, because he's absolutely marvellous dahlias. Gives them early embryos. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that absolutely beautiful? Yeah, some of these are really tall. I mean, the ones coming to in a minute, they're almost the height of me. So lovely, lovely yellow here. The Gloria Van Hemstede. If Stefan was here, he'd pronounce that better than me. So apologies for mangling what looks to be Dutch language. Gloria Van Hemstede, I guess. But absolutely lovely. Simple, pale yellow. Yeah, lots of work for gardeners. Yeah, I think they're a pretty high maintenance plant. I think you have to really kind of set your stall out and go, right, I'm going to do dahlias. And I think you can just sort of, dip your toe in the water, because obviously they take quite a lot looking after. The overwintering is kind of complex. And, it's growing from seed, kind of difficult. Tubers you never quite know what you're going to get. So, it's not perhaps a beginner gardener, but I think once you've got sort of basic level of competence, it's incredibly rewarding, because obviously the results are stunning and they last for such a long time. That's what's so lovely about having dahlias in the garden at home, is once they're out there for long, long periods of time. So Dagenham Torch, this one. a red and yellow cholera. Again, absolutely. It's like they've been painted, isn't it? Somebody's got a brush out, you know, as you've painted these delicate colours on them. Nature is so incredible, isn't it, what it can create. I mean, look at this as well. The perfect harmony there between the white, the yellow, and what you call burgundy. What do you call that colour? Claret, I guess. It's just absolutely mesmerising, the kind of combinations on offer at the back here. A fuchsia pink, harpit blue sea. Really, really wonderful sort of combination that we've got over here. This is Anne Brackenfelder. You guess who would be the breeder of this particular bloom. Very lovely. And here again, some of these harpit blue sea. Aren't they absolutely divine? And next to them, of course, St George. I'm leaning right in there. We gimbal arm, getting as close as possible. Fabulous, fabulous pink cactus. And a kind of pom-pom style white next to it. Oh, this one's absolutely perfect. So the condition of them is really absolutely fabulous. And then this is the dark leaf one. Now, we saw something very similar, didn't we, in some of the planting beds earlier on, this very dark foliage with beautiful purpley, what shade do you describe that as? Parts kind of fuchsia pink, sort of getting darker into the centre, and a rather orange, sort of a sunburnt sort of colour of the stamen and the stems rather than the normal yellow you'd expect to see. Look at this one, Coral Jupiter. How wonderful is that? It gladdens the heart, doesn't it? She is, yeah, she's my scale today. She's there to demonstrate how big things are. So again, look at that. Look at the colour of that. Isn't that just fabulous? Absolutely glorious. And again, this must be one of the spectacular ones you could possibly see. Look at that. Isn't that something? And they keep on coming. They keep on coming. So look at this one. Oh my goodness, look at the size on this cactus there. Isn't that amazing? In such good condition as well. They must really train the slugs around here and the caterpillars to have a sense of the aesthetic. You know, it's too pretty, leave it alone, go and munch something that's a lot less attractive. They do something incredibly well looked after. Perhaps like 24-hour gardeners on patrol and slug patrol, looking after little blighters, hurling them whenever they see them.
This one's so big it's fallen over.
Look at the size of it. Absolutely, it's collapsing under its own weight. Fallen over under its own weight. It's so big. Carla Van Wyck, I'm delighted we take you to a happy place. So Harrogate is, I think, a lot of people's happy place. So I'm delighted that you're enjoying it here, in and amongst the dahlias. And so much that we've seen today, so much to kind of love, and just make the heart sing. I think just all this colour and the care as well. I think that's what I've been trying to get across all through the tour is the care and attention that's been put into making this happen. It doesn't happen all by itself. There are legions of people involved, but what a credit to them. That when we can come here and spend an hour, be an hour and 15 minutes, and just take in the sheer beauty and variety and craft and care that is Harrogate in bloom. So coming to the end of the dahlias, I think we'll be coming to the end of the tour as well. I'll be running low on my batteries very soon, and I'm sure you'll have other places you want to go to. This is a lovely, look at this. Sort of two-tone tinged here. Everywhere, it's a purple pearl, this one. The medium decorative purple bristled with white edges. So isn't that delightful? So the last one's just around this corner. Last few varieties to show you. So purple pearl. Again, to coral style. Hillcrest Jonathan at the back, the pink pom-poms. And then our final one, the Clearview Cameron. So again, very, very delicate pink, whites, yellows coming through. It is an absolute explosion of colour. So just kind of show you sort of where we've been. We've walked the length of the Dahlia patch. So I do hope you have enjoyed our Art Community Absolutely Stunning Tour. Thank you so much. I am delighted you could join us. And do these volunteers in the garden? I don't know. Actually, I think there's a friends group of Valley Gardens, so I strongly suspect that they're involved in some way, shape or form. Whether they get involved in the planting or the management, I don't exactly know, but whoever does it, hats off to them. They do an absolute sterling job. So after all that beauty, sadly, you've now got to look and Mrs. John, as we wave goodbye and say thank you so much for joining us today in Harrogate, and hope whatever you're doing for the rest of your day is lovely, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. So from Harrogate, the Valley Gardens and the Dahlias, one last look at the Dahlias before we go. Hope you find the right button. And we'll bid you farewell from this fabulous patch. Tell you what, we'll just walk down one more time so you can see them all together in one go, as they're meant to be seen, on a walk through the Dahlias, the Valley Gardens, here in Harrogate, in the wonderful county of North Yorkshire. So I hope we've seen enough of Harrogate to persuade you to pay a visit when you're next in this part of the world. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. So from Harrogate, I'm going to wave goodbye. So thank you. See you again soon.